Okay, and let's get some opening music here. We're waiting for everything to stream. We're starting to stream. Let's put on some fancy music here. Dan's never heard this music before. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. I'm the new engineer. We're waiting for YouTube. Come on, YouTube. Everybody say, YouTube, you can do it. YouTube, you can
YouTube, you
do it.
can do it.
It's still, come on, sending data.
I'm on
Where's that
YouTube.
data going? Oh, we're all right. We're streaming. Let's start the show now.
Let's go.
Okay, here we are.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away?
I had to watch.
Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
That's me. Thank you to the voice of Ryan Treasure, who gets us on the air all the time. I'm Bonnie D. Happy to be here. We have a new topic, and you know I've been talking about the future of AI and some industry, some creative genre, some business niche, some global trend for about 3 years now. But it's time to look at AI from a different perspective. And I have 3 thought leaders, experts, innovators, content creators. They're amazingly smart and brilliant. No pressure on you, Jack and Dan and Danielle. Please understand that. And they are helping to put AI to work. Not just, oh, where do I get an app? Or what do I do? What do businesses need? What do they want? What's going to help them run better, more efficiently, and do the right thing with AI? So I'm going to do my introduction, and let's see where we go with this. And guess I didn't take enough pictures before we started, so we will do that right after. I have a special gift for each of you, and you're going to hear it right now when I call your name. Just wave. So here we go. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where AI meets innovation, and we're going to explore how. With Bonnie D on her Scarlett Mic leading the way, 3 visionaries are lighting up the day. We have, let me go first, we'll start with Dan Geller. From Brookline's pace to Barcelona's sun, Dan Geller guides where AI is run. A strategist, a builder, a teacher in kind, he turns hype into insight for the curious mind. Through Sherpa's Durden, he charts the climb from concept to action, always at the right time. 2 continents, 1 mission clear to make transformation real and always keep it sincere. From the Bank of America to Mrs. Field's sweet art, Dan's systems deliver with clarity from the start. At Vail Resorts, he helped visions ascend, where tech and experience brilliantly blend. For Dan, I'm all choked up, Dan. For Dan, clear thinking must always come first. Before code or campaign can quench AI's thirst, Dan seeks trails and tastes where new cultures call, guiding AI's future with wisdom for all. Dan, what'd you think?
That's the gift, right? I think it's pretty good. If there's another gift, I don't think you can keep the gift. That's the biggest
That
gift.
was the gift. I'll cancel the chocolates and the balloons for
Yeah, that's
later
the
on.
biggest gift I'm going to get. That's nicer than the words my wife says to me. So,
I'll have to tell her. I'll tell her how to do it. Next is Danielle, newcomer. So happy to meet you. And here we go. Danielle, from the misty Northwest where her curiosity grew, Danielle learned how people and systems pursue. A visionary leader with wisdom and grace, she guides AI's rise in the human-paced space. From Washington's Foster Halls, she earned her acclaim with degrees and credentials enhancing her name. CCNA, Lean, Sigma 6 in her hand, Danielle bridges precision with a vision grand. Founder of Easy as Pie AI development by design, where technology and empathy seamlessly align. 3 decades in tech and transformations domain, Danielle builds systems that think and keep heart in the frame. Influenced by travel, by culture, by mind, Danielle's logic and spirit are deeply entwined. With purpose she leads, where insights begun, ensuring AI and humanity move forward as one. Danielle?
Oh, I love that. I'm
I'm
putting it on my new
glad.
bio page. That's
There you go. I'll send you
cool.
a clip. I don't send the text, I send clips. There we
Send
go.
the clip.
I'm
Love
glad you
that.
liked it. Jack is next. From Brunel's Bright Labs, where ideas take flight, Jack Rich learned to merge function with insight. A designer by training, precise and bold, Jack built systems of steel before stories were told. At Ocado Technology, he shaped the way for smoother checkouts and sites that stay. The voice of the customer, sharp and aware, Jack mapped every process with purpose and with care. From physical tools to digital plans, he mastered alignment of people and hands. In consulting, Jack honed how systems behave, turning chaos into order, the problem to save. Now with Sherpas Durden, his compass is clear, helping businesses build AI that they can steer. From Barcelona's coast to U.S. skies, Jack crafts smarter work where human time flies. Jack?
Wow. I think I should go home now. I don't think I can beat that. That's that's
Okay,
the
I'm going
kindest
to.
thing anyone said.
I'm glad you liked it. Let me finish up here with our visionary panelists. The future shines bright as AI is set to transform business with data-driven light. From efficiencies to innovations, new pathways ensue. Hear how AI can power up your business for you. So, do I get a little round of applause here, kids? There you go. I'm so glad. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Dan, I've been doing this for about almost a year now for all of my shows, all of my guests. And I have a collaborator named Sylvie, and she's French, and we speak in French, and we work on these together. And that's why I no longer ask people for a CV or a work bio. I ask for an origin story
Mhm.
because I want to know, and my viewers around the world want to know who you are, where you come from, what motivates you, what inspires you, what's your purpose. That's the bigger view I want in these introductions. So I'm very glad you all enjoyed that. So, Dan, I've known you for forever, and you're up first. And Dan, what I'd like to do is I'm going to put you on speaker view, and I'd like you to fill in some of the blanks in 16 lines. How could I cover your entire incredible life? So, Dan, why don't you go ahead and just give us a couple minutes of an update? What have you been up to? What are your passions? And what kind of clients are you working for? You don't have to name names, of course. Dan Geller, welcome back. You are on speaker view right now.
Thanks for having me, Bonnie. It's great to see you again. I'm glad to have Jack here with me, who I work with, and Danielle, who I'm good friends with from the industry. We're doing some cool stuff. AI is. I don't know. I can give you some specifics. We've been doing stuff lately with some kind of insurance, kind of overlap of insurance and healthcare providers in Europe, really trying to help them make sense of a lot of the information and the data that swirls around so they can be faster with customer service. Um, and also building out a lot of like agentive systems to help kind of smooth through just like daily productivity. I spend a lot of time actually personally building out systems to kind of improve our business operations. There are things that we're kind of building in the back end to help bring into our customers kind of product solutions. We're also working on some solutions for small businesses, like AI receptionist solutions that are kind of easier for small businesses to kind of bring AI into their workplace. But no, it's been great. I'm actually visiting Jack in a couple of weeks in Spain. Going to get some
Ooh.
good food in Barcelona. Try it different from the Boston style that I have here.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it. Other than that, have a kid living at home. That's interesting.
I,
So
I have a big question for you and for Jack. Do we say Barcelona or Barcelona? Because I see different advertisements on TV and a lot of them say Barcelona. Jack, you're the one who should address this. What
I,
do you think?
I, I, I don't know if I'm still qualified. I may live here, but I'm not actually Spanish. I don't know if
I
you
can
could
tell.
tell.
I can tell.
But
Okay.
I say Barcelona.
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 We'll stay
Yeah.
with that one. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate that, and wishing you a good trip. And you can stick around for the rest of the show. It's okay. Danielle, I've known you for, let's see now, it's about 10 and 12, 22 minutes, and I'm very happy to welcome you. And I just love that blue dress you're wearing. It's just gorgeous on air. Looks
Cool.
great. Okay, Danielle, we'd love to know a little bit more about you. I covered a little snippet of your expertise and your travels in my intro, and we want to get to know you. So take about your 3 minutes and tell us more. You are on speaker view now.
Yay, thank you. Well, it's hard to compete with Dan because Dan's so eloquent whenever he jibber jabbers. So I'll try to be as succinct as Dan can be. So I own Easy as Pie. We typically work with mid-sized, small to mid-sized businesses. We tend to work with a lot of trade industries. We work specifically in operations and streamlining their ops. A lot of businesses in the mid-tiers seem to have a lot of ops overload, and they try to handle that using hiring more people or whatever it is, but just creates more chaos. And so we streamline the ops on the back end for the most part. And as far as personally, I'm doing a lot more keynotes about post-labor economy, and kind of how the economy is shifting, how to kind of prepare for the AI, all that other kind of stuff, and focusing on human first. So our company has very deeply ingrained ethics and value systems. So we usually work with companies that have the same. And our goal is not to fire everybody. Our goal is to make sure that people are doing what they've been called to do. And so a lot of people are not called to pick up the phone and deal with irate customers. More people are called to do higher level of thinking and execution and follow their passions and give back. So I'm really deeply concerned and hopeful that people are going to start having a level of freedom that they've never experienced before and be able to have a level of joy. And that's where I'm kind of putting a lot of my focus on right now, is helping people move into that direction as much as I can.
I like the way you said that. Having joy. Nobody says that word.
I
Nobody
want
says excitement, happiness. People say, oh, what I was going to do. By the way, my show is about positive. It's about opportunities. It's about the benefits of it. You want to go do doom and gloom, you go with somebody else's show. You're not doing
somewhere
that here.
else. That's not
Somewhere
my
else.
timeline.
But I
Not
have
living there.
very important question for you. Easy as pie. How'd you come up with that name?
Okay. So here's the story. I'm going to be as quick as I possibly can because it's a great story. I was having a really bad month, and my current company was being sold to my ex-husband. And so I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm with my friend who owns a few companies. And so we started talking to business because that's my love language. And I said, what do you do online? And she says, well, I have a Facebook, I have a Facebook. And I'm like, what's your, what are you trying to scale to? What are you doing? And she goes, well, I blah, blah, blah. And I said, you need a website, like you need some tech, like you need to do marketing or something like that. And she goes, that's too confusing. And I finished it in 2 hours. Like I built her whole thing up. And she's like, this is what you're going to do with your life. You're going to stop all this other shit. And sorry, I swore. You're going to stop all this other stuff.
I've
And
heard
you're
the
going
word.
to go do tech. And I said, well, everybody can do that. And she goes, no, she goes, you make it easy as pie.
That's it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Sometimes it's those little. I have a Monday show called The Creativity Show, Cool Conversations with AKA Radio Red. That's one of my many other names, as Dan knows. And yeah, I know. And I talk to mostly authors on that show. And I will say, what is your inspiration? What is your muse? Where do you get the ideas? A lot of them are novelists, they're fantasy authors, they're sci-fi authors, and some of them have 20, 30, 40 books. They're not old people either. They're just writing and write full time. And I say, what do you do with the ideas? And they say, sometimes you'd be walking along, you'd be sitting in a cafe, you'd be listening to music, you'd be in a museum, and an idea hits you. You write that down. David Byrne said those are the little snippets of ideas you want to capture. He did it for his music. And something appeals to you, something just, that was it. And my show, Technology Revolution, The Future of Now, I came up with that name with two other people about 8 years ago on a 20-minute phone call brainstorming. Oh, I didn't hire a company for $20,000 to rename what was a former show. And I just said, that's it. That grabbed me. Technology, future of now. That's it. I don't think anybody's doing that. But anyway, thank you, Danielle. That's part of your creative process, separate from your innovative process. So, Jack Rich, we are ready for you. I'm putting you on speaker view. Please fill in the blanks and let's get to know you. Welcome, Jack.
Sure. Thanks, Bonnie. Well, obviously, as you heard, I'm working with Dan. I'm a product operator, kind of turned architect, and we've co-founded Sherpas Durden together. Like what Danielle said, we're kind of focusing on small to mid-market businesses as well, and most of that has been in the insurance space. As Dan said, we're kind of doing voice agents as well, and really where we try to think about it is taking it back to what's the problem that we're trying to solve, trying to spend the extra time on discovery, extra time on really trying to understand what the use case is that we're trying to solve this for, and then putting technology, be it AI or something else, because AI isn't the magic bullet that does everything. There are other ways to solve problems, to solve the problem at hand. And we really try and I liked what you said there as well, Danielle, about bringing joy. We want to kind of empower people, being AI forward, not replacing humans, but empowering them to think at a higher level, to remove the busy work, the repetitive work from what they do, so that they can focus on the bigger picture.
I like that. Now, how did you name Sherpa's Durden? What does it mean?
Well, that is a good question. I don't know, Dan, if you want to answer that one, because
Dan, they're
we've
on gallery view. You can all talk now. Go ahead.
yeah, what do
Uh,
you think?
well, yeah, okay. So we named it's a little bit of Dan Geller nuttiness and a little bit of so Sherpas. I mean, part of it is that we really want to guide people. We really want to
Yeah.
help. I think AI is a very confusing thing. It continues to be confusing. So a part of what we do is we actually do a lot of training and support. We do a lot of road mapping to help some of the larger businesses understand before they spend a lot of money, because some of these builds can be actually fairly significantly, have a significant price tag. We really want to help companies. So we act as Sherpas, whether that's on the small size and we're just doing kind of training, or if we're building out things, we really act as Sherpas and guides. The Sherpas Durden is a play on the character Tyler Durden. And what would Tyler Durden do? What would Sherpas Durden do to help you get through AI? So that's where that came from. Sherpa.
Remind people where Tyler Durden is. Where's the character?
That's from Fight Club.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Is that
and
Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt, yeah.
Right.
Now, if Brad Pitt played Tyler Durden or not, I forget because I haven't seen that movie in a long time. But
Tyler Durden's the same case, two characters, because he's
Same
got that kind of
character.
split personality. So it is
exactly.
Brad Pitt,
There
as
you
well as,
go. Okay. I do remember a
yeah.
little bit of movies. Thank you very much. And Jack, thank you, Dan. Jack, you used an important word. You said empowering people. You didn't say enhancing. You said empowering. So we have joy from Danielle and empowering from Jack. That's where we want to go. And that's why this show today is the future of putting AI to work. And the subtitle, which Sylvie helped me with, is From Hype to Hands On. How are people really using it? What are you designing? What are you developing? What are you delivering? Oh, I like that. 3Ds. That's pretty cool. Okay, there we go. Dan knows me by now. We're just thinking off the top here. Let's go to the part of the show where I've asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a fictional character in a movie or a TV show or a song lyric that is not about technology and is not about AI and is not about automation. And you're going to relate it to our topic briefly. So Dan has sent a quote from, oh my goodness, one of my favorite actors, Brother Day, played by Lee Pace. Do you remember he did a very interesting series several years ago. It wasn't Crash and Burn. It was about software burning itself up. I can't remember. Something in fire. Something. I'll find the name of it. Anyway, Brother Day to Brother Dawn, played by Cassian Bilton in Foundation, sci-fi TV series on Apple TV Plus, 2021. And this is from season 1, episode 1. Some people might call it a pilot. The title of the episode was The Emperor's Peace. It stars Jared Harris, Lee Pace, Lou Lobel, and Leah Harvey. Brother Day, Cleon 1, 12, 13, 17. I'm reading my Roman numerals as fast as I can, Dan. 17 and 24 is the middle-aged member of a series of genetic clones of Cleon 1, who reigns as emperor of the 12,000-year-old galactic empire. Lee Pace also portrays Cleon 1 in his prime. So here's the quote. This is an interesting one. Words have a way of fanning into wildfires. Not everything is a teachable moment. Well, if that isn't provocative, okay, Dan Geller, what does this have to do with our topic? You're back on speaker view. Go.
Okay, so first of all, I love the show. We'll talk about the show later. This is specifically, and your job, your task that you gave me was to find a quote that relates. The reason I pick this quote is because I think a lot of people are mistakenly using tools like ChatGPT and then just taking the output and saying, I'm a genius. Here's a report. I produced a report. Look at me. I'm so smart. I did this output. They're not really showing discernment. And so they're taking words and fanning them into wildfires when in fact, they're not necessarily that good or they're not really that well thought out. As Sherpas, we're part of when we do content or when we do we have to do evals. We have to do evaluations. We have to look not just at the way systems are built, but how the output shows up. And there is still a reasonable percentage of stuff that just doesn't make sense. It's just not really that thoughtful. And so it's really important when you're working with AI, whether you're building a career, whether you're using it for content, you're building out systems, that you really pay attention to what is coming out of it and don't fan things into wildfires when they're just really nothing. So.
Thank you. And speaking of fire, Halt and Catch Fire was the name of the series, and it was a fictional portrayal of who invented the PC and how it first got started. And it was in a garage. It's a very dramatic, if you can find it on streaming, I suggest it as technology fans and creators. I suggest you find the series. Dramatic, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of, oh my God, what did you do? And disappointments and triumphs as well. So Halt and Catch Fire. That's where I first saw Lee Pace. And he is the star, and he's good and evil at the same time and very attractive. Oh, we'll leave that one alone. Thank you very much, Dan. I love that one. Let's go to Danielle's quote. Danielle, I have a friend and colleague who was on the show a couple times a year, and she loves Doctor Who. So I've had Doctor Who quotes up and down the stream here, but you picked one I haven't heard. And this is from the 11th Doctor, played by the actor Matt Smith. Doctor Who, the British sci-fi. We got a lot of sci-fi here today. Sci-fi TV series. This is from season 5, episode 12. It aired on June 19th, 2010. So that was 15 plus years ago. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. This is part of the first of a two-part finale. The second part, The Big Bang, aired the following week on June 26th. The 11th Doctor is an incarnation, aka regeneration, of the Doctor, the protagonist of Doctor Who, played by Matt Smith in 3 series as well as 5 specials. And the title of the episode is The Pandorica Opens, Pandorica. Here's the quote Danielle has picked. The universe is big, it's vast and complicated and ridiculous. And sometimes, very rarely, impossible things just happen. And we call them miracles. I hope I did that okay, Danielle.
Great.
What does this have to do? That's a cold read, by the way. What does this have to do with our topic? Go ahead, relate it, please.
I feel like I think I went a little bit more esoteric than Dan did, because boy, I agree with everything Dan said. And Foundations is an excellent show. You need to go watch that. And so when I think about how AI works, sometimes people think it's magic, or sometimes they kind of think like, oh, it can kind of do everything that you want. And it can do a lot. It's big, it's vast, it's ridiculous half the time. But it has so many beautiful opportunities. And there's so much that can happen with it that will free so many people from the universe that they currently live in, the lens perception that they currently live in. And there's so much opportunity. And that's what excites me. What excites me is how much opportunity and happiness and joy, like we said earlier, that can happen out of AI. And so one of the tactical things that happen is just by freeing up your space in your job, not being overwhelmed, not working 90-hour weeks, just fixing like we do on the operational side. So you're not bogged down trying to find the documents, being bugged every single day by people asking you where this is or that is. Just to have the things run smoothly and take that cognitive load off of you can feel like a miracle. It can give you your sanity back. It can give you your space back. It can give you your creativity back as well. And so I feel like that's a miracle in and of itself. But also I had to choose a thing from Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is my absolutely all-time favorite show. And I do throw Doctor Who parties and stuff like that. So I had to go to Doctor Who. But I think the universe is beautiful. I think it's vast. I think everything about AI is absolutely insane and amazing at the exact same time.
I like your attitude. I like your perspective. Very, very interesting. That's why Dan referred you to me to be on the show today. All positivity. Thank you so much. And let's go to Jack Rich. Jack has picked a wonderful quote from the wizard Gandalf, played by Ian McKellen. Of course, we're talking about The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 2001 epic fantasy adventure film based on 1954's The Fellowship of the Ring, first volume of The Lord of the Rings, a lot of rings here, novel by J.R.R. Tolkien, directed by Peter Jackson, and he co-wrote the screenplay. I don't know if you knew that, with Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens. A series of 3 epic fantasy adventures directed by Peter Jackson, regarded as one of the greatest and the most influential film series ever made. It's one of the highest grossing film series of all times, with $2.991 billion income worldwide. I don't know where they got the one from, but 2.991 is the latest. It won 17 out of its 30 Academy Award nominations, and Gandalf the Grey is an Istari wizard and mentor to Frodo. I have a quick side story for you, Jack. I don't know if you know this, but I'd like to tell you. Sean Connery didn't understand the plot, so he wasn't in the movie. Patrick Stewart didn't like the script, so he wasn't in the movie. Patrick McGowan turned it down because he had some health issues. Christopher Plummer turned it down. We don't know why. Sam Neill had a scheduling conflict because he was filming Jurassic Park 3. And Ian McKellen enjoyed playing Gandalf more than his transformed state in the next two films, and he based his accent on J.R.R. Tolkien. He worked with scale doubles of the hobbits, very seldom with the actual actors. I love that side story. I hope you enjoyed that, Jack and company. Here's the quote Jack has picked. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. Oh my, beautiful. I'm going to crochet that on a pillow. I don't have a pillow big enough for that. Maybe I'll write it on a wall when nobody's looking. Jack, what does this have to do with our topic? Talk to
Wow.
me.
Well,
Go.
first, Bonnie, I didn't know that side story. That's quite interesting about all the other actors and Ewan McKellen. I think for me, I could take this quote in so many different directions. I think it's probably a little bit of a cheat quote because it can be applied to so many things. It's one of my favorite films, and I think whenever I'm stuck or overwhelmed, I can kind of think back to this and decide what am I going to focus on? Because the hardest thing to often do is figuring out what you're focusing on. And I think this is no different in the world of AI. There are so many opportunities out there. Things are moving so quickly and so rapidly. Part of the challenge is figuring out where to spend your energy and exactly what to focus on. So I like to apply this question, or at least this quote, to my thinking when we're working on AI and looking at the opportunities in front of us, because often it's not whether you can build something, it's how long will it take and how much will it cost. And then really it becomes figuring out not doing the right things versus doing things right is another quote, and that's where I think ideas are cheap and execution is really where it matters. So taking it back to first principles, trying to understand what it is that you're trying to do, and given the time that you have in front of us, particularly for a small business that doesn't have a million resources, what's going to bring the best return on investment, and that's why I like that quote.
Thank you. It's a beautiful quote, and it applies to way beyond technology. It applies to all of us in
Mhm.
a special way. I'm glad you.
And also, you
Yeah.
could apply it to the future of work when this AI revolution. I forgot I was going to say this. When the everything is rosy and the AI is able to do a lot of the lower level work for us, we will have hopefully a lot more free time. And I see that Danielle, you're nodding at this. We might be in this space where AI can free us up to say, okay, now I can think about other creative or other aspirational pursuits that I can do in my free time as well.
You
So
can
that's where
come
I
on
think it
my
can be
show
applied.
more often then. You'll
Exactly, yeah.
have more time. Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was going to play an applause track, but I don't want to derail us, so we'll keep going here. Dan, I have a whole bunch of sound effects now, and I just don't want to do that. So let's go to our predictions now. And Dan Geller, I'm picking your prediction number 2 because I'm not putting it in the chat. I'm just going to read it because I know it's addressing something that's been in the news. And by the way, I think there was a guest article in, could be the New York Times, yesterday or today about somebody who said, I tried to live without AI for 48 hours. And it's an essay. And he basically had a great deal of difficulty divorcing or separating from everything in his life that is already run by large language models and AI and agentic AI and all that. So if you can find it, I think you'll find it interesting. So Dan, I'm going to read this. AI slop is a problem that brands need to be careful to stay away from. And I'll give you another prediction, but I just want to get this one out of the way because it's in the news all the time. Dan says, over the next 6 months, I believe marketers, advertisers, and brands will be working more closely with AI and human teams to closely monitor and refine their message so they don't lose customers and trust. Let's just get this one out of the way because it's something that's newsworthy, Dan. So why don't you just address it very briefly? We'll go around the table, and then I'll pick another quote for another prediction from you. Go ahead, Dan.
I mean, I already see it happening. I think it's going to get real. So AI slap is really bad. We're seeing an abundance of content. I don't know the ratios. I think it's over 65 or 75% that's going towards the social media channels. Obviously, Mr. Zuckerberg has an interest in accelerating that. There's conversation about that. Platforms like, the Meta platforms and even future of TikTok may be that it's just all AI or 90% AI. And the reality is, and even if you just talk to your friends, people will just turn it off.
Mhm.
They just won't trust, and there's already been a high level of distrust of like mainstream media, certainly of social media. I know I had a conversation with somebody the other day about the AI actress that one of these AI content companies created. I forget who I was speaking to about it, but there's really a lack of trust. And I've done a lot of work for brands in the past, and I would advise them, and I know from some of the conversations I've already had, is that they're very concerned about the quality of the message they're putting out there. And I'm not just talking about within brand guidelines. I think a lot of brands really need to, and this includes like media brands, they really need to have their message be not only authentic to their brand, but authentic. And there's a difference between authentic to brand and authentic. If I felt that I was not actually talking to the real Bonnie, I would turn off the call. And I think that we really, really need to still we have to increase our humanity.
Hold on, I'll get her. Bonnie, you want to come in? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that's it. I mean, like I'm obviously good friends with both Danielle and Jack. Spend a lot of time talking with both of them. It's because I know that I'm speaking with the actual person, and I think that we need to not just be authentic to brand, but be authentic. And so I see this happening. It's going to show up more.
If you want to see an example of an AI clone gone wrong, watch the latest episode of The Morning Show with Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston and Greta Lee, who just left the show. They just wrote her out of the script, but she has a horrible moment in front of a whole group. This is a fictitious TV station called UPN, and she has been speaking to her clone without realizing she was being recorded. And they're on a stage and they're showing this multi-million-dollar AI clone of her on the screen, and it goes rogue.
Mm.
That's all I'm going to say. Jack, I know his eyes are saying, what? If you want to see it in fiction, okay, that's fine. You know what? I'm going to move on from that, and I'm just going to go to another prediction, and let's get started with our putting AI to work. So here's number one from Dan Geller. Health systems and insurance providers will start offering personal assistants powered by AI that will enable customers and members to have greater control of their health information and enable better tracking and biometric data collection, which will lead to greater outcomes and plan savings. Why don't you tackle just part of that, and then we'll see what Jack and Danielle have to say. We'll go around the table. Dan, go ahead.
Already happening. I live in Boston. There's a lot of healthcare concerns that are amplifying. There's been increased spend on doing biometrics data, which means that if that model grows, we're basically going to have more personalized healthcare. And what that means is that your doctor is speaking specifically to you. They're not just speaking to somebody at a certain age bracket. They actually know your DNA. They know your risk pools. What I'm talking about is that when we combine this information and that we get specialized information back to us, so we can actually talk to a model, we can talk to an experience, and we can know. And I'll give you an example. I've seen, and I've actually built out a little bit of this for myself and for my parents, is that if we can load data of an individual's personal history into something like a RAG model and then train that data against it with an agent, we can actually have conversations with our health data and actually have a meaningful conversation about what we should do next, what supplements we should take, how often we should walk, personal care for ourselves. And I'm talking about on a small scale. Now you push that stuff up to a company like Cigna, which is a brand I did work with like 10 years ago, where you start modeling that stuff and you start sharing that out to your customers. Watch your customers grow. Watch where the differentiation is, that I actually trust my healthcare system. I trust my hospital, my doctors, because I'm having more insight into the information I'm working with. So I definitely think that's going to show up
And
more.
personalized. Thank you very much. What is a RAG system? You mentioned that?
RAG is retrieval augmented generation, like a knowledge base. So you put all the data in and it's indexed by the AI. The AI can actually move around and use it and learn it.
Thank you. Danielle or Jack, any comments? Jack, you want to unmute for a second there? Any comments adding to what Dan had said about the future of what we're talking about? Jack?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's a really interesting space. That obviously healthcare comes with its challenges, right? It's a very complicated space, not
Yeah.
least because of the protection around data. But when you think about the way Dan is posing this, the potential on education in terms of again, I'm saying empowering people to understand the impacts of their choices and the impacts of their data. I think it almost moves towards this kind of predictive medicine type solution where you can think further ahead, and instead of being reactive to, oh, something's happened with my blood work, you can start to say, oh, as Dan said, I should be taking these supplements, or I should be going out and doing exercise. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, which would be really exciting
Thank
and a
you.
net positive for sure.
Good. I like net positive. Danielle, briefly, any comments on that?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this. I built, like Dan said, I built one of these for my mom who has beginning stages of Alzheimer's. So to help track. And so one, it allows her to talk and not feel guilty about, am I asking the same question over and over again? What I also love about this system, because like Dan, I see this now out in the field and, other healthcare systems are working with this, is that it's so empowering for women specifically, because in traditional medicine, women have been ignored. We don't get testing. There's lots and lots of data that women have not been used in testing, hormonal, and women going through menopause, premenopause. The ability to have control over that, ask questions, dig deeper, and free that space from the physician so they are not 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, that we get all that information together and then we create a plan together. It frees up the pressure from the doctor so they can actually go back to their calling of caring, because that's why they went into it, unless they're pressured by something. But like, they went into it because they care, because they want to help. And we've created a whole system that doesn't allow them to do this. This frees them up, and it creates a cohesiveness between the two partners to make health better for everybody. And I, as a woman, I love this because it allows me to take control and have conversations. And I need that. I need to be able to have the conversation with my physician and with my AI, so I get the holistic healthcare and care that I need, that I deserve.
Thank you. I want to talk to you after we're done about what you said about the
Yeah.
Alzheimer's and the AI. I have a neighbor who might be able to use something like that. Thank you all.
Okay.
Dan, great starting point there for our real predictions. Danielle, I'm going to your prediction number 2. This is very, very interesting. You say the end of the ask your manager era. We're moving toward companies where employees no longer waste hours asking, where's that document? Who approved that? AI is becoming the company memory. It surfaces the latest version, identifies who changed what, and answers most of those internal questions. And you also add, we've seen this firsthand. And why don't you tell us about who you trained on internal documents? Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, so yeah, there's a couple ways that this kind of comes down. We've definitely taken this. We had a company, and that they were so overwhelmed. She's like, I think I need 3 admins, one for each departments, because we're overwhelmed. And I was just like, you don't have, you have an operationals problem. You literally just have an ops problem. But we haven't had the technology to fix this problem, except for shoving people into a box. And now the box is created around how they think and learn, right? And so they did see a workload drop of 65%. When people ask about this, and I think, Dan and Jack obviously know this as well, one of my big triggers that I tell people is like, if you're constantly inundated on Slack by questions, and if somebody comes to you and says, hey, can I ask you a quick question? Do you know where the is? Hey, I can't seem to find the blah is. If you get that question, you have an ops problem. Hands down, you immediately have an ops problem. That's an ops problem. And as Dan said, it's a RAG retrieval system. Like, you have to create a centralized database that holds that, but it can be presented however it is that you want. You can put like a UI on that or whatever it is. But when you streamline those things and take those questions, that's what these big organizations do. That's what Walmart excels at. That's what Amazon excels at. They niche into the operations because that's the biggest gain at the end of the day. And small businesses, medium-sized businesses, do not seem to comprehend that is how you scale. That is how you free your task load with your company, with your employees, with your staff, with your human resources. But it's also how you free your company to be able to serve more clients. And so that's what we focus on. And I know in a way that's exactly what Dan and Jack do as well. And so if you are overwhelmed by those moronic questions, because we all are. Like, I have gone through the Slack threads, I have gone through the emails, I have like, where did I put the blah, blah, blah?
Yep. Yep. You have to learn how to name blah, 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 and then figure out where you put it or how to search for it.
What
And
was
you,
the name of it? I don't.
I know.
By
I
the
know.
way, Bonnie, because you asked for a picture of my name that had my first. Now I always have a profile picture to send when I speak because I've never named it my name. It's always been
Okay.
imaged random numbers.
There you go. I asked that of all my guests. I just booked 35 guests for my Monday creativity show for the next 4 months. And I'd say 50% of them ignore the request to put their name, not rather than bluecoat2019.jpg or IMG 2593.0 JPEG. Would you put your damn name on your picture? And about a third of them do. They just, that's part of your branding, right,
Yes.
Danielle? Your picture is part of your branding. So when it lands on somebody's desk, you want it to have your name so they know
Yes.
who you are rather than, oh, I just got 20 pictures today. I wonder who this is. Okay. Well, we'll
Yeah.
never forget you, Danielle. Quickly around the table, Jack and Dan, any comments on what Danielle just shared with us? Go ahead, Jack. You look like you're ready to jump on this.
Yeah, I just did a little bit of research on this because Dan and I were talking about a similar topic a couple of months ago, and I'll let you speak about it as well, Dan. But there's a fact that I found out that McKinsey apparently says 1.8 hours per day is spent searching information per day. How do employees spend 1.8 hours, almost 2 hours a day looking for stuff? Like that is a big opportunity.
And that's a big OMG too. Dan,
Mm.
go ahead.
I mean, Jack and I have specifically worked on projects that do this, that like help companies. It's not just about finding and retrieving the information, it's about making meaning of the information. I can tell you, Jack has spent long hours on building out systems where we're actually stacking information, meaning very kind of technical or legal information, and then mixing it in. So what it does is it makes sense of what you know and then adds layers, but it doesn't just like add a paragraph. It literally, if you understood a corpus of information about something like legal or medical, and you also had a certain need, it can start mixing the information and making sense of it, and then coming back with something that's more important, that has more gravitas. And so it's not just about retrieving the information; it's about making sense and then taking action with what you have. And small businesses should definitely do this. I agree completely with what Danielle said. This is the difference. The operational difference is finding a way to get those 2 or 3 hours back every
Yep.
day, and then find out where you actually want to grow with that additional time that you have.
Would be nice. Yes, for the person, for the team, for the company, for the customers, for the partners, all the way down that line, on the human food chain, if you will, the human chain. Thank you very much. And Danielle, that was great prediction. And let's go to one from Jack. And then I'm going to go back to one from Danielle. We have just about barely enough time. Jack, I'm looking at your prediction, number 4. This is interesting. You say AI in privacy-minded businesses will spark a new that's on-premise era with small domain models running locally so teams control data where large models plan the work. Now, I need you to unpack every part of that sentence, Jack, because it's way up there. So why don't you tell
Yeah.
us? It's only one sentence, but you got about 5 things to unpack for us. So why don't you give us a little tutorial here? Go ahead.
Sure. Let me know if I forget anything, and I
Well,
could be wrong here. But so obviously we're seeing a really big investment from all of the big players in larger and larger models, more compute, more data centers, and at some point there's probably going to be a bubble that's going to burst, and we may reach AGI, artificial general intelligence. We may not. Don't know. This isn't about that point. But the other part is everyone is passing, all these businesses are passing all their information, all their unstructured raw data through these providers. Now, they may have signed deals to say they're not going to use their information for training, but it's still going there. And it's still all of your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, your business secrets are going through those systems. And quite frankly, I'm really surprised that more businesses are not worried about this and are not more cautious about this. Not that it's necessarily inherently a bad thing, but when this bubble does burst and we have to start looking at more efficiency measures with AI, because it's not a question of if, it's going to be when, the efficiency measures are going to be saying, okay, I could use this really powerful model that does anything I want and it will be really smart, but actually that's really expensive, and at scale that doesn't really work. So I think we'll start to see companies be a bit more conscious about where they're sending their data and saying, I could have a small language model, an SLM, and I could put that on my site in my office, and I can house it there and anyone can speak to it, and none of the data ever leaves my office building. So it would require kind of fine tuning and tweaking and making sure that those workflows are carefully designed and those models can do what they are intended to do. But I don't think it's a massive leap for these models to do that, because a lot of the time it's okay, it needs to write an email or it needs to categorize some information. It's not like, I don't know, analyze 10,000 lines of a book. Like these in a system where it's working for a business to respond to an email or work in some way for a workflow, it doesn't really have to be that smart. So if it doesn't have to be that smart, you can have these smaller language models that are more efficient, that you can have the control of, and then you don't have to worry about where your information is going. And you could even then say, oh, we can put even more sensitive information, our business secrets in there, and it can act as a kind of strategist on our side, not necessarily to listen to it blindly. We know that's an issue, but something as a kind of sparring partner to kind of challenge and get a kind of alternative point of view. So
Jack,
yeah,
how long does it take to build something like that?
good question. You could buy an off-the-shelf, what's it, MacBook Mini. I think they are the good ones to run a decent model is about $10,000. You could put a open source model on that. Then if you want to do some fine tuning, that requires a reasonable amount of data, but you could create synthetic data for that. And there are ways now to make it cheaper to do that kind of fine tuning process. But even without that fine tuning process, you could put something like DeepSeek on this iMac.
Interesting.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah, so it's
Thank
possible.
you. I want to save some time for Danielle and Dan to weigh in briefly, and then I have one more prediction from Danielle, and then we're going to close. Danielle, comments on what Jack said?
100% agree. We do this for our clients, and I encourage every single one of them to do this. And I agree. It's as far as costs go, it's moronically cheap in comparison to what we've had to deal with in the past. But when it comes back down to what Dan was saying on authenticity, it goes back to the authenticity portion of it. It goes back to owning your data. We've been so conditioned to give our data away for free and advertising so we can get advertising for. I think this is a real eye opener that we can control our data, create our own narrative, but also create the idea of protecting our clients as well. And there's so many companies that are required by law to protect their clients, but so many can't because they've been forced to use these larger systems because of the complexity of the larger system to give. But now we don't have to be around that rules and regulations anymore. We can build it on pipe. And I love DeepSeek. I'm on there all the time. It's one of my favorites, but there are tons of LLMs that you can take into the SLM world and build that out. And you just like, I'm very, very lucky that I have amazing developers that work on my team that are brilliant in their own wonderful way that enjoy building these things out. So I think you have the right team, you have the right company, and you have the right motivation. This is 100% what you need to do. And if you have horrible team and horrible everything, then you hire Jack, Dan, or me. And then that's what you do.
I was waiting for that. Thank you for the pitch.
Yeah.
And Danielle, I want to go on and get Dan's comments because I have one more prediction. Dan, thoughts on what Jack shared and Danielle's comments? Go.
I completely agree with both of them. I think, so I'm very entrepreneurially focused and like look at like what companies and individuals can do from a growth perspective. I was at my dentist earlier today. I have two kids that are college age. One's in college, one recently graduated. There's a lot of conversation around my house about the future of work and careers and options. And I was talking about this with the dentist this morning. I would actually say from a growth perspective, and there's some limitations. Like right now, we're dealing with the cost of chipsets, the cost of actually those things like the MacBook. I am hoping that will come around. But I actually think from an entrepreneurial perspective, from a career perspective, I could see this where there's a solution where somebody comes into your house or into your business, sets up your server, puts in these models, and then you pay for a contract for them to actually just service them on a quarterly basis. So
Yes.
they're fine tuning. They bring people in like us to help fine tune the models. But
Yes.
that would really be how do we get to this solution? The solution is that we need to like have a service layer that can actually help bring these things in. And I think that that's going to happen.
I like that. That we might have to do a whole show on that one. Thank you very much. And Jack, thank you for the prediction. I want to squeak in one more here. We've got about 5 minutes left. Danielle, you have prediction number 4, operational debt, and you put air quotes around, I put air quotes, will become the new growth obstacle, just like tech debt, that's technology debt, slowed down software teams, operational debt, all those outdated systems, messy workflows will become the silent killer of scale. AI is making it visible. That's interesting for the shining the light for the first time. And Danielle adds, we recently mapped a client's process stack and found that 40% of their operational steps were duplicated or unnecessary. When we removed them, throughput increased by 32% with no new hires. That's the future of clean scaling. Fascinating. Danielle, just 2 minutes. Go. And we're just about out of time. Go ahead.
Okay, so you already gave the results. What I find interesting about this is that we used to have consultants come in and they had the interviews. Remember the Bobs from like the Working Space movie where the Bob came in, you had to interview Bob to keep your job, that kind of thing. It's the same idea with operational debt where we continually do things. We never mid-size and small-size businesses have never had the opportunity like the big guys have had forever for managing their ops. And when everybody else is doing this, you have to do it as well, or your business will fail. I'm just calling it out. And I feel very passionate about this. Like, if you do not fix your ops, you will not survive, period. Because that's what AI excels at. Just like Dan said earlier, like it fixes all your data, but then it gives it back to you so you can grow on top of it and keep scaling upon scaling upon scaling. And however that scale means to you doesn't necessarily mean more people or more clients. Maybe it means more time off to spend with your kids and with your family. Maybe it means being able to bring in more money so you can pay your people more. Maybe it means so you can give back and donate and go to the causes that you want. It doesn't necessarily mean grow bigger. But that operational debt is going to be what people will track. I think it's going to be a key KPI moving forward, and reducing those redundancies as much as they possibly can, because it's easy in comparison to what it's ever been before. And then soon it will be a no-brainer that that's just how businesses run. We will focus on the ops and less on how many new cool tech toys do we get to buy because it does this one thing and stuff.
Thank you, Danielle. I like that a lot. I think I'm going to invite you all back for part 2. We've got too much to talk about here. Dan, any quick comments? Jack, 1 minute each. That's all we've got. Dan, thoughts on what Danielle shared? You agree?
We're in sync here. I look for the time where I think there's a little bit of this is such a new thing for small to mid-sized businesses to recognize that they have this opportunity, that there's still a little bit of pushback. I think the larger enterprises are recognizing this and have been, and they already have kind of fairly significant and growing IT budgets. And I'm looking for the opportunity for people to turn the corner and recognize that this is really something that they should be doing, because once they get rid of this kind of debt and they move into like new systems where they can get access to their data, where they can start manipulating data, they can grow their systems to a place where they have more of a growth model, they have more of an entrepreneurial model, and they can reward their partners as well as their employees.
Thank you. I like the reward aspect. And by the way, I was a mainframe programmer back in the day. Dan knows this. I was coding on a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 mainframe in COBOL back in the day and key punching my cards, carrying a box of 2,080 column cards. And then we graduated to an IBM 4341 where I was doing PL1, a language you probably never heard of, big systems. But however, I was handling spaghetti code. Talk about operational debt, Danielle and Dan and Jack. Talk about tech debt, where so many people had touched a program and they just kept adding code and code and code. And let's do a top down and let's do a branch here and let's redefine this data element. And it was spaghetti. It was like looking at a pot of spaghetti without the sauce and just saying, oh my God, how do I untangle it? So back in the day, I remember that. Jack, you've got 1 minute to comment and then we got to close. Go.
Sure. The only thing I'll say is I wish I came up with the term operational debt. I really like it. I use tech debt all the time, but operational debt's great. And
You
I
heard
think
it first here, Danielle, from Danielle. Go ahead.
yeah, I think it's about, and another old phrase is what gets measured gets managed. Like you have to have the visibility, you have to be looking at the evals, you have to be looking at the data. And if you look at that over time, you will be able to optimize it for your business
There
and
you
you will be able
go.
to grow.
This is for all of you. I want to thank all of you very, very much. There you go. I see that's brand new, Dan, and let's close the show.
Are you tired of
Don't go
hearing the
away.
future is already here?
Listen up.
We are too.
We are
that
too.
may have been yesterday's future,
Yesterday's
but today's future hasn't happened
Not yet.
Take a deep breath, tune out the hype, the noise, and turn up the volume. Savvy, Art of the Possible technology visionaries
this.
talking about how today's innovations right now
Right
are
now.
shaping every aspect of our real
listen up.
future. We'll laser focus our spotlight on buzzworthy tech like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, augmented reality, and lots more. Clear your calendar and open your mind for Technology Revolution, the future of now. With the most upbeat host on global radio, Bonnie D. Graham. Listen anywhere, anytime, on any device.
I have to tell all of you that was recorded about 8 years ago, and I wrote the script, and Ryan Treasure, who I worked with at Voice America Radio, recorded that for me, and I found it recently, and it still resonates. It's even truer now than it was then. I want to thank you, Danielle. A round of applause for bringing me the wonderful Danielle LaFleur. Danielle, absolutely fabulous. I really appreciate women in tech because I'm one. Thank you. Jack Rich, lovely to meet you. Wonderful. Dan, such a smart group. Will you all like to come back and do a part 2 with me soon?
Yep.
Would you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
You got used to
Of
my
course.
style. Let's all wave goodbye to LinkedIn and to YouTube and to Facebook and 2 YouTubes now. Everybody say goodbye, and we'll see you all soon. If I can find the button,
Bye.
there we